All right, let's dive into this. Today we're looking at C3.ai. They're hoping to make it big in the AI software platform market. And, we want to know if their stock, it trades under AI on the New York Stock Exchange is worth a look.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really interesting time to be looking at AI companies right now. I mean, tons of potential, but lots of uncertainty too, right?
All right.
And we've got this super detailed report that you gave me on C3.ai. So we're going to break it all down, look at financials, analyst opinions, all those market trends, so we can try to figure out where C3.ai stands right now.
Well, one thing that really kind of jumped out at me in this report is that C3.ai stock, it actually dropped by 8%. And this was right after they beat their earnings expectations for Q1 of their fiscal year 2025. I mean, how does that even happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's one of those things where you have to think about the market as a whole.
Right.
Sometimes the market's reaction isn't just about a single earnings report. It's thinking about the bigger picture. It's trying to predict the future.
Okay, so let's start with those recent financials. So C3.ai, they brought in $87.2 million in revenue for Q1 of fiscal year 2025. That's a 21% jump year over year. They even beat their earnings expectations, reporting a loss of just $5 or 5 per share. They were expected to report a loss of 13 cents. So on the surface, that seems like a win, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. But I think the market might be reacting to C3.ai's shift from a subscription-based pricing model to a consumption-based one back in 2022.
So meaning that customers used to pay a set fee, but now they're being charged based on how much they actually use the AI platform.
Yeah, exactly. And while this aligns with the industry trends and gives customers more flexibility, it does make it a bit tougher to predict how much revenue C3.ai will bring in, especially in the short term. A little bit of unpredictability. Investors don't always love that.
That makes sense. So, setting aside these kind of short-term worries, how has their stock actually been performing overall?
Well, in October, the stock price went up. It went above its 50-day and 200-day moving averages, which is usually a positive sign. But their relative strength rating, which basically measures a stock's price performance against all other stocks, sits at a kind of measly 44. And the benchmark for a strong stock is usually around 80. So that's a little bit of a mixed signal there.
Yeah, and let's not forget, their stock really took a hit after that leadership shakeup at OpenAI. That was late last year. And it seems like any ripple in the world of AI just kind of creates these waves for C3.ai.
Totally. It really does. And it just highlights how sensitive the market is right now to anything AI related. I mean, it's a huge sector, ripe for growth and innovation, but it definitely comes with uncertainty.
Okay, so let's talk about the opportunities and the challenges that C3.ai is facing. The report you shared highlighted some really strong performance in the federal sector. Over 30% of the revenue from Q1 2025 was from government contracts.
Yeah, that's definitely a good sign. And also, their partnerships are another area where they seem to be doing really well. Their collaborations with companies like Google Cloud are driving a huge chunk of their signed agreements, like a huge amount, like 72%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So these partnerships, they're critical
Right.
to opening up new markets and getting new customers. But on the flip side, the fact that almost a third of C3.ai's revenue comes from just one single client, Baker Hughes, makes me just a little bit nervous. And especially because that contract expires in April 2025.
I hear you on that. And there's another thing that we might want to consider too, which is their declining remaining performance obligations, or RPO. Basically what this means is this metric reflects how much revenue they've already got locked in for the future. And seeing that decline, it's not always a great sign.
So it's like they've got this amazing growth happening in the federal sector. They're securing these major partnerships, but then they're also super dependent on one client. And their future revenue picture, it's a little bit, I don't know, blurry.
Yeah, you could say that. Kind of a mixed bag. But before we jump to any conclusions about what all this means, I think we should maybe step back a little and consider the context of the entire AI market. That might give us a better picture of what the future could hold for C3.ai. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The global market for AI software platforms, it's expected to just explode. We're talking going from $28 billion, that was in 2023, to $153 billion by 2028.
Wait, did you say $153 billion?
Yeah.
That's a compound annual growth rate of almost 41%.
Power.
That means C3.ai is operating in like a potential gold mine here.
Yeah, they are. They are. But the question is, can they actually capitalize on this? Can they really take advantage of all this growth and, outperform their competitors? Because there's a lot of other companies out there, right? All vying for market share, like Palantir Technologies.
That's right. The report did mention Palantir Technologies.
Hmm.
Their stock, I mean, it's gone up 162% this year. That's a pretty big difference from how C3.ai has been doing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it seems like Palantir, they have more people using their platforms, and their growth, those metrics, they're pretty impressive. But every company's got its own strengths and weaknesses.
So what are the analysts, the Wall Street analysts, what are they saying about C3.ai? Are they feeling good about the future?
It's actually kind of mixed. The overall rating, it's just hold, which basically means they're not really recommending that people buy or sell the stock right now.
And their 12-month price target, it's only a little bit higher than the current price, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. It's not exactly like, a huge vote of confidence. They do seem to recognize that there's potential for growth, especially with those federal contracts and all the partnerships they're securing. But they're also hesitant, right? Because of those red flags we talked about, like that client concentration, that declining RPO, and the overall market volatility.
Okay. So we've got C3.ai facing some pretty serious challenges, but they're also in a market that's ready to take off. I mean, what does this all mean for investors if they're thinking about, putting their money in?
Yeah, that's the big question. It's a tough call. I mean, there are definitely some attractive aspects to C3.ai. Their revenue growth is accelerating, and their valuation compared to some of the other companies out there, it's actually pretty good.
But you're right, we can't just ignore the risks.
Exactly.
It's high stakes, and investors need to think about both sides of the coin, the rewards, but also those potential downsides.
Right. Yeah. C3.ai is, I think they're at a crossroads. They have this real opportunity, right, to be a leader in this AI revolution, but they've also got some big hurdles in front of them. And I think the next few quarters, those are going to be crucial for seeing if they can actually make it.
It really is. It's a fascinating landscape, and we've got a lot to think about. We've gone over their financials, their market position, the opportunities, the challenges. C3.ai, they're at a pivotal point, that's for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And I think it's really important, too, to understand what it is they're actually offering. So their main product, it's the C3 AI Suite. And basically, this is a platform for building and then managing enterprise AI applications. You can think of it kind of like a toolbox, right? For creating these custom AI solutions, that address very specific business needs.
So they're not just selling like one off-the-shelf AI product. It's more like a platform that can be adjusted to fit different applications.
Exactly. Yeah. They do have some sort of pre-built applications for, certain industries like for oil and gas or manufacturing. But the main idea is they're giving companies these tools to build their own AI solutions from scratch.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's pretty versatile.
Yeah.
But how do they compare to the competition? Like, what makes C3.ai's platform stand out? What's special about it?
That's a great question. And I think to really, give you a solid comparison, we'd have to get pretty deep into the technical side of things. But it seems like, at least from what I've seen, C3.ai, they're really focused on making their platform very user-friendly and scalable. They talk a lot about how quickly companies can develop and then deploy AI applications using their suite.
So they're trying to make AI more accessible to companies that maybe they don't have the resources or the expertise to build these complex systems, all on their own, completely from scratch.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of their strategy. And it kind of goes back to, that shift we talked about earlier to the consumption-based pricing model.
Right.
They're trying to make it really easy and cost-effective for companies to just kind of dip their toes into the world of AI and see the benefits without having to make this huge commitment up front.
It's a smart move, I think. But ultimately, it's all about, can they deliver? Can C3.ai actually help businesses see real results from their AI investments?
Right.
Like, can they actually get value out of this?
Yeah. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we can look at all the financials, we can talk about the market trends, but at the end of the day, we need to look beyond the numbers and, really consider the impact on the ground. We want to see concrete examples of, okay, how is C3.ai actually helping these companies solve problems, improve efficiency and, ultimately boost their bottom line.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in all the numbers,
Yeah.
and the stock price is going up and down.
Yeah.
But it's really about how these technologies are actually being used to solve real world problems.
Exactly. And those stories, I think, those are often the most compelling. Those are the ones that really give you that glimpse into, what can AI actually do? How's it going to change things? How's it going to reshape industries? And even just, the way we live and work.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today in our deep dive into C3.ai. It's been fascinating, and it's definitely a company to watch, that's for sure. They're operating in a market with huge potential, but they've got these challenges in front of them. And I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah.